So there's so many myths surrounding confidence. People thinking confidence is something you're born with. Confidence is for those people with no insecurities. That one is the furthest thing from true. So people see the end result of someone looking confident or feeling confident, and they think that was naturally given to them. Where confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you develop. Everyone starts at a certain point and can move towards the more confident version of themselves.
Hello and welcome to the Ronny Leber Show, where every week we bring you fascinating guests with inspiring stories of success and overcoming obstacles from the worlds of sports, business, and entertainment. To support this channel, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and hit the like button so that we can deliver you the best content possible. He's one of the most engaging and high-energy keynote speakers in North America. He's got a decade of experience on stage presenting to leading companies like Disney and Sony Pictures. He's a confidence coach to top CEOs, Olympic athletes, actors, and peak performers. Disney called him a true game changer. And today he'll help you to navigate through uncertainty and change by developing the unwavering confidence to thrive in any environment. I'm excited and delighted to have him on the show, joining us live from Miami, Florida. Please give it up. Here is Juan Bendana. Woo!
What an intro, Ronnie. Pleasure to be here. Excited to chat. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled. And today we'll not only talk about what it takes to build unwavering certainty, how to navigate through constant changes in today's environment, and also some golden nuggets for speaking in public. But before we get into all of that, when you look at your life today, and you're still quite young actually, and think back on your journey, was that what you had imagined when you were a kid?
Not at all. I was the kid that was definitely the opposite of every idea that I share now. I was that kid with no confidence, with no energy, with no enthusiasm, with no aspiration for life. I remember when I was in high school and in college, I was in kind of a downward spiral. I got to a place where I was 70 pounds overweight, considered obese. I remember failing out of
70
college.
pounds.
70 pounds overweight. I was at my peak, I was 230. And I remember I was failing out of college in a program that I was not passionate about, and eventually failed out of college and moved back in with my parents, in with a traditional Spanish father that needed everything to be perfect. So I never felt like I was. And I remember there was days where I couldn't get out of bed. There was days people talk about, oh, motivation for your goals and to crush it in life. I didn't even have the drive to start a day. And I remember over the next year starting the process of turning that around. And I realized that confidence, or being able to have the belief in oneself to pursue meaningful goals, wasn't something that was magically found or adopted or a genetic disposition. It's something that you build. And I realized that is something that you can build. And that was kind of 9 or 10 years ago. And here we are.
And actually jumping right into that, because there are many people out there who believe, well, confidence is just something that you're born with. But obviously, and you're the perfect example, it is not. So how does it work? What's the secret?
Yes, not at all. There's a lot of myths around confidence. We can actually talk for hours just on the myths. But the one that you brought up of confidence is something you're born with is a common myth. It's actually based on the research. It's not true. Confidence starts to develop at the age of 4 and is cemented, quote unquote, when you're in your mid-20s, where it starts to get solidified. So people see the end result of someone looking confident or feeling confident, and they think that that was naturally built and that was naturally given to them. Where confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you develop. Some people have a more natural tendency to feel better about themselves, to have a different perspective. But here's the truth, Ronnie. 80% of our thoughts on a given basis every single day are negative. 80%, the research shows. 12 to 60,000 thoughts we have every single day, 80% of them are negative. And we are naturally inclined to look for what's wrong. So the first place we look is ourselves. So no wonder people don't feel confident, but you've got to accept the fact that, sure, some people are born taller, more okay, they have more reasons to feel confident about themselves, but everyone starts at a certain point and can move towards the more confident version of themselves. So there's so many myths surrounding confidence. People thinking confidence is something you're born with. Confidence is for those people with no insecurities. Confident people have zero insecurities. That one is the furthest thing from true. The furthest thing from true. So I think everyone has the opportunity to build towards the most confident version of themselves. It is just a matter of how.
And before we get into the how, actually, and I actually want to point something out that you just mentioned here, because the oldest part of the brain, of the human brain, is the amygdala. And it is basically like the crocodile brain, and it comes back from the days when we were still prey to saber-toothed tigers and all those kind of things. And it was basically, it was not a tool to make you happy, it was a tool to make you survive. And it was not about like, hey, I want to live my passion and so on. It was really about, I want to live. so in a way, and when you were tall, you had a competitive advantage in a way. Before, one thing that when you mentioned, it starts at the age of 4 and it goes until the mid-20s. At the age of 4, you're not really conscious about what you're doing, obviously. So it's a lot of impact is what your parents are doing with you. Are there any tricks or any things that, if your parent is watching right now, that they might be doing with their kids in order to boost their confidence? Or also maybe there are things that parents are doing unconsciously that actually is going to lower the confidence of the kid?
Ooh, absolutely. So in the start of my career, and I'm sure we'll get into the speaking world soon, but at the start of my career, I started in education, speaking to around 100,000 students every single year, in rooms of 50 up to stadiums of 25,000 students. And I've realized something, that many parents have the best intentions in the world, but they're actually setting their kids up to lose in terms of their confidence, because they're making them feel like the most important person in the world, and that they can do no wrong, and that they're so amazing for no reason. And no, it's okay. Here's a participation ribbon. That's the worst thing you can do for someone's self-confidence. That is the worst thing you can do for someone's self-worth, because it makes it so that they didn't have to earn feeling great about themselves. So then once they get into the real world, they realize that their value comes from adding value to others. They realize that true value, true confidence is found by the process of earning your worth in an organization, in a friend group, on a team, in a company, in an intimate relationship, in a friendship. So I think the thing that a lot of parents get very wrong when it comes to trying to inspire confidence in their kids, and teachers do this as well with their students, is tell them that they're the best thing in the world, that no matter what anyone says, you're special, you're amazing. I think that's with the best intention, and you can still do that. But you have to show them that they also need to earn it, because confidence is the process of making and keeping promises with yourself. Confidence isn't something that magically strikes you like a bolt of lightning. It's something you earn through the process of getting better, of growth, of showing that 6 months ago, whoa, I was a different version of myself than I am now. I've actually grown. I can draw the line of growth from where I was to where I am now, and that gives me a boost, and I can feel good about myself because of it.
So the other way around would be basically, and also, even if you don't have any kids, I'm sure you were a kid at some point, and unless you're 2 years old and you're listening to our podcast, but then welcome
Which
to the
would
show.
Be very advanced.
Yeah, you're very advanced. Sign up for the Mozart program. But anyway, so basically, what would be the good thing, or what would be something that you would encourage somebody to do? Because you say like putting challenges, or it's about keeping the promises to yourself. So how can you encourage somebody who is, and that probably doesn't just apply to kids, but also somebody who wants to build their confidence? How does it work?
Do things that you can be proud of. Do hard things. Push yourself. And I'm not talking about push yourself in the Navy SEAL, David Goggins, go run 100 miles and do 1,000 burpees. I'm talking about just outside of the outer bounds of what you think you're comfortable with, your potential, what you think is possible, because then that gives you proof. The ultimate confidence builder is proof. Is giving yourself proof of, whoa, I can actually do that. If you're afraid of speaking in front of groups, go speak. If you're afraid of saying hi to new people, say hello. If you're afraid of building relationships, go say hi to 5 new people. Spark a conversation at the coffee shop. Because I think too often people wait for confidence to come to them as opposed to going out and being the person that stretches themselves and pushes themselves to grow and pushes themselves to be better. So I think it's doing hard things consistently, and it is stepping in the outer bounds of what you find comfy and cozy.
I think actually you made a really great point, and I just had a realization. Because when I was at university, and there was, and the point is really stepping out of your comfort zone, but don't measure yourself with other people. Measure yourself with your own standards. Because there was a period of time, in two years actually, when I didn't do anything at all. Basically, I was working next to the university, or actually I had the university next to my job in a way, and I wasn't doing anything. So I had to get back into it, and I was doing 2 exams. I remember 2 exams are coming up, and I was like, Jesus, that's a lot. Ooh. And then the next semester, another 2 exams. And then, all right, let's push it up a bit. Let's go to 3. Like, I can do that. And so I was then just pushing the bar more and more and more. And the more I was pushing the bar, the more confident I got. Well, there is something that I can do. And then from every semester, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it somewhere. And at the end of the semester, I was looking back and like, wow, incredible. I'm sure like this has to be the limit. The next semester I did more and more. So, but it was about pushing my own limits. And is this a way to say that confidence is built?
Absolutely. It's brick by brick. Exactly what you did. It is saying, I'm going to do a little more. I'm going to do a little more. I'm going to do an extra rep. If you're someone that works out, that goes to the gym, if you're doing 10 reps of an exercise for 3 weeks, for 6 weeks, for 9 weeks, you know, there's like, okay, let me do 11. Let me do 12. Let me up the weight a little bit, because it's found in progress and being able to draw the line of like, if you are the exact same person now than you were a year ago, something's got to change. Because there has to be some development or some growth. If you're the exact same person, if I consider myself, if I'm the same person that I am now, a year from now, February 2025, I'd consider that a failure, because I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to find that, how can I improve? How can I get better in personally, professionally, in relationships? So you've got to be able to draw the line and say, this is where I am. This is where I'm going to be. And this is where I'd like to be, because you will never outperform your self-image. You will never outperform the way that you see yourself. So if we want to change our results, you need to act above your current self-image. Meaning that person would go to the gym. That person would put themselves out there. That person would speak up in the meeting. That person would give the presentation. Because when you start acting like the version of you that you would like to be in the future now, it is the fastest road to self-confidence by far.
So when you're saying that basically gaining confidence, it is about keeping the promises to yourself. Does it also mean the other way around, that if you're not keeping the promises to yourself, that you're actually losing confidence? And then building on that is, what is the way? For example, when you're saying like, I wanna build my body, I want to go to the gym, and then I need to go to the gym 5 times a week. That's my plan for this week, and then I only go 3 times. So what do you do then?
That's a great question. And yes, it does go the other way, where confidence is essentially defined by trust in one's own ability, right? There's a difference between confidence and self-efficacy, which is the research on confidence dates back to the 1970s with Albert Bandura, who was kind of the pioneer that started this idea of self-efficacy, which is our belief in one's own ability to perform a certain task. But then there's also self-esteem, and people think self-esteem and confidence are the same thing. They're not. Self-esteem is the way one sees themselves, is the esteem you have for yourself. Confidence is trust in your own ability. So if you say that you're going to go to the gym 5 times and you go 2, you kind of lose a little bit of trust in your ability to stick to what you said you were going to do. So you actually don't have a lot of confidence in the fact that that's going to happen. So you don't have trust in the fact that you're going to go to the gym the next time. So you've got to, the way to turn that around is say, okay, I said I was going to go 5 times. I actually went to, what do I want to do next week? Let me set my eyes forward and say, I'm going to do 3 times, and I'm going to act based on the goals that I have and based on the person that I want to become, as opposed to based on the way that I feel. The challenge a lot of people run into right now, not only in confidence, but in performance and growth, is they act based on the way that they feel. I'm tired, so I'm not going to do that. I'm sleepy, so I'm going to sleep in. I'm afraid, so I'm not going to go for it. You have to train yourself to do things you don't want to do. My fiance and I recently got a cold tub, a plunge that gets to like 50 degrees. And every single morning at 5 in the morning, that is the last thing I want to do in the morning. It's horrible. It feels like knives are stabbing your body. But I get in there because I decided I'm going to be the one that tells me what I'm going to do. So people say like procrastination. It's because it's a hard thing. No. It's just fear. It's just, you're just afraid. You're just afraid and you're untrained. You're untrained in the way that you can't get yourself to do hard things. So how do you train yourself to do hard things? You do hard things consistently until you get pretty good at it.
Wow. And just to translate for those who are in the Celsius system or in the metric system, 50 degrees Fahrenheit is basically 10 degrees Celsius. So it's not something that you would consider normally to go, yay, great time to go for a swim.
Yeah. Yes.
So talking about your own story, because you said 10 years ago, your journey completely changed. That you were not the most confident kid. You were 70 pounds overweight. How did you change? How did you build your own confidence?
It was
was there a certain point actually? Was there a certain point that ignited that, or was it just a gradual journey?
It was an inflection point where I kind of reached a rock bottom low where I was obese. I was constantly exhausted. I had no career ambition. I didn't have the grades to get into any great school. I had just recently dropped out of community college. I was living with my parents. I had no money. I was broke. And I remember nothing was going well. Nothing was going right. And I decided, I was like, I need to do something different. I need to do something to shake things up and to change the situation that I'm in. And I remember a friend of mine called me up and he said, why don't you come to California and just kind of get back up on your feet? Just kind of change things up. And I went on that trip. And for the first time, I decided, I was like, I'm not going to try and change everything at once. I'm going to focus on the tiny changes, the small shifts, the small 1% changes, the small incremental shifts that I can make in order to change things. Within 6 months, I lost the weight, launched my first company, and changed the energy that I had for life again. And the reason was because of the science of small and the compounding effect of small changes that you make. People think we're living in a culture right now where people glorify these like 75 hard, 30 days of no sugar, 50 days of no joy. And it's just ridiculous because it doesn't lead to sustained results. I'm sure many of you have heard of Atomic Habits, one of the best-selling habit books of all time by James Clear. And in that book, he talks about this idea of the compounding effect of microaction, where if you just get 1% better every single day, by a year, after a year, you're 37 times better. 37 times better just by a 1% improvement every single day. So that's what I focused on, and that's what I did. And then once I started getting results, it became a little addicting. And once I started to kind of grow personally, professionally, once I started to lose the weight, get stronger, get in better shape, be able to run a little further, people were like, wow, you've changed. And this was a identity almost crisis. And Ronny, we have a mutual friend, Mike Savage, that I remember I was at an event. This was in Florida in December. You know what event I'm talking about. And this was the first event back after losing all the weight. And I remember I was walking in a convention center, or at a hotel, actually. It was the year I was at a hotel. And I passed by Mike, who had been literally a mentor of mine since I was like 13 or 14 years old. And this was when I was like 20. And I passed by him and I go like, hey, Mike. And he just ignored me, like walked right past me. And I turned around, I was like, Mike, and I called his name out again. He turned around and he went like, he couldn't believe it. He did not recognize me. Because I didn't know, because if you've ever lost weight before, a significant amount of weight, you don't notice because you're with you all the time, right? So like you don't notice, but then when people see you after a few months, and especially of a 70-pound delta of a difference, it was such a rock to my world in terms of identity. I was like, whoa, people see me differently, so I guess I should see me differently now. And it kind of never went back from that point.
Isn't it fascinating? Because also what you're saying right now, that sometimes your mind need to keep up with actually what other people are already perceiving about you. Because it's also something when especially nowadays with all the Instagram world and so on, when you look at all the beauty thing that's going on, the whole beauty industry and also the plastic surgery industry and so on. Oh, I need to change this, I need to do this and so on. Like basically, how do you see that also from a confidence standpoint? Because is this a confidence thing, or because sometimes it is like that they feel they need to change some things on the outside. Other people perceive them as beautiful, well, until a certain point when it actually maybe becomes too much. Or how is that from your point of view?
Yeah, it's doing things for external validation, which we're living in a culture where if you drive the nice car or have the and the beauty standards that the world has set is that, perfect supermodel, six-pack, like in amazing shape, that has the money, that has the nice car, that has the latest clothes, that has the designer bag, that has all of those things. And it sets what really makes people doubt themselves and think they need to do that. It sets expectation. And when you have an expectation of the person you think you need to be, that's when you start to change behavior to fit in with a certain group. In psychology, it's called normative conformity, where we will adapt our behavior in order to fit in with a certain group. And especially now where the group is on Instagram and people are posting the private jet or the Lamborghini or the nice, like the vacation. And it's all a front to show people I have status. I am valuable. And I'm trying to tell people you're valuable without any of those things. And if you like them, that's totally fine. Like, I'm actually not against those sorts of things. I have a friend that's obsessed with supercars, that's his obsession. And that's totally fine. For other people, it's clothes, it's designer clothing. For other people, it's flying business class or it's flying private. For other people, it's nice jewelry, or like for me, it's watches. I have like a watch collecting addiction and I love it, but that's my little thing. A lot of people don't even know that. I don't even think aside from my close friends, a lot of people have no idea. So everyone has their thing, but you want to make sure that it's for you, not for other people, because a lot of people drive the car so that other people will see them. Which is where it becomes, or people wear the nice bag so other people can see them wearing the nice bag. Or a lot of people fly business so that they can take the picture of them flying business. It's like, whatever you want to do, have the things that you love, and I'm all for that. I'm all for go for the stuff that you love. But at the end of the day, it's like, make sure you're doing it for you.
I love it. One thing that we said is confidence has nothing to do with who you are today. It has everything to do with who you want to be tomorrow. Explain that to us.
Yeah, I think you find confidence in the vision of the person that you want to become. Like, you can actually reach into the future and find resources of the more confident version of yourself, even if it's not your reality right now. And that's what I did in the journey of when I was losing the weight. I remember I had no confidence. I hated looking at myself in the mirror. Hated it. I couldn't for a certain period of time. But I remember I had a vision of the person that I wanted to become, and I latched onto that. And that gave me something that is probably one of the most powerful human drivers, which is hope. Give me hope for a better future. And for someone that used to be unbelievably anxious, for someone that used to be depressed, for someone that was at times suicidal, I remember the only thing that I needed to latch onto was hope, because I hated the person that I was. But I didn't hate the vision of who I could be. That was exciting to me.
It really sounds like it. And also, you mentioned a few things already before that I'm picking up. One of the things that you mentioned is that to do things, even if you're not feeling like it, that is going to boost your confidence. because you're actually doing things that you said that you were going to do. And that reminds me also of Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps, the record Olympic champion of all time, he said once that for, I forgot the exact number, 500 something days or something, every single day he went to train. Were there days when he didn't feel like it? Of course there were. But still, he went out there and did it because he pushed himself. And also greatness. One definition of greatness is not doing one thing great once. It's about doing all the little things over and over and over again. So basically building habits, atomic habits. So building confidence over time is like doing all those little things, those little rituals. What were your rituals, or what are your success rituals?
Ooh, what were they, or what are they now?
Well, let's go with both. Let's start with what were they?
What were they? They were the little things of like exercising and listening to positive role models, mentors, listening to podcasts like this, listening to people that were further ahead than I was to learn what they did well, reading books. Those were the things that I started doing. And then over the years, it's become a refinement process where I'm just doing a lot of those same things, just at a higher level, at a more where I'm like trying to find how to grow, how to improve. For me, now, current day, there is non-negotiables every single day. I wake up at 5 a.m. I get in freezing cold water. It's horrible. It's awful. It changed my energy. I'm genuinely never tired. I'm this annoying all the time. Then I go to the gym. I spend an hour. I love fitness. I love working out. A lot of people say take breaks, whatever. I love going every day. That's just my preference. I love it. It's really fun for me. It's a passion of mine. I love fitness. I love training. I love strength training. I love getting stronger. I love building athleticism, playing tennis outside of the gym and things like that. So that is something that is an absolute non-negotiable. And then other than that, I'm feeding my body pretty solid food every single day. I'm having my greens powder. I'm drinking probably 100 ounces or so of water every single day. I do love food, and I have cheat meals, and my fiance and I are probably going to go get pizza tonight. So I do believe in integration of things and still being able to be a fit and healthy human, but not saying I'm a vegan. I can't have any of it. I love sushi. I love pizza. I love ice cream. I love all those things. So though the standards that I hold is really working out every single day, feeding my body great food 90% of the time, and arguably just as important, surrounding myself with great people. I had to cut off so many toxic relationships, so many people that were just not going where I was heading. And now I am so blessed to have the best people in my life that are my ride or die friends and family that I wouldn't trade for the world. And they are the reason why I've been successful. I genuinely believe that.
I was just going to ask, because there is, of course, this saying that you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. At the same time, what role do the people around you play when it comes to your confidence or also to your success? And also, maybe tying into that, what's the relationship between confidence and success?
Oh, for sure. So with the relationships, I would attribute a lot of the things that I've been able to do to the relationships in my life. I think it is everything. I think the people you surround yourself with will either act as a weighted vest or as jet fuel to the goals that you have. They will ride with you. They'll be there for you. You've got to see, are the people in my life, like I'm not going to surround myself, just non-negotiable. I'm not going to surround myself with negative people. I'm not going to do that. I'm way too positive. I would be annoying to them. I'm well aware, and they would be annoying to me. So I had a lot of negative people in my life, and I'm not talking about like you're having a challenge and I need to talk through it. That's normal. That's human. You're there for your friends. I'm talking about complaining about the fact that they got your drink order wrong at Starbucks. That I can't tolerate. We're alive. We're living in some of the most exciting times that human existence has ever experienced. How can you not be grateful, enthusiastic, excited? That's just my perspective. So surrounding yourself with great people is so important that are aligned with where you're going. that are aligned with what you're trying to do. I remember the friends that I have now were there when I booked my first speech in business. They were there when I was speaking for coffee mugs. They were there when I was working on things and nobody cared. They were there at the beginning. So I think friends are absolutely everything. And I genuinely think that the strongest correlation to long-term success and performance is confidence. That's what I think. Having the conviction, what's okay. You want to have success, you got to be able to sell yourself. You have to be able to sell a product or service. You have to sell yourself in an interview. You have to sell yourself for a role. The X factor in that is confidence. That's it. It's conviction. Do you have the confidence, the belief in yourself that you're able to do it, that you're worthy of that deal, that you're worthy of that role? If you don't, you're not even at the starting blocks yet. Sure, there's other skills, but confidence is the most important, in my opinion.
I'm going to ask you something, because before we talked about, for example, that parents should not just pat the baby on the back or the kid on the back and say, "Oh, you did great," or like, "Great job," or like, "Yeah, well, you didn't lose, you just learned," or whatever. Yeah, I mean, of course, that's great as well to learn. At the same time, when it comes to people around you, in order to build each other up in terms of confidence, what should you do?
I think it's acknowledging people and telling them how much they mean to you and telling them how great of a job they're doing, but make it justified. Don't just say, if someone's sleeping all day and laying on the couch and eating chips and they say they have goals and they say they have aspirations, don't tell them you're doing such a great job, you're taking care of yourself, because it's not true. Like, I have friends, I hold my friends, the people in my life, to a very high standard. I love them. I will tell them, you're doing an amazing job. I just want to acknowledge you for this. There is something I call confidence capital, which you can invest in the confidence of other people just by saying, you crushed that. You're doing such a good job. But you want to make sure it's justified. And then I will push. And I'll say, hey, didn't you say you wanted to do that? Didn't you say you wanted to double your business? Didn't you say you wanted to get in amazing shape? Didn't you say you wanted to really dive into this industry? But your actions aren't really aligned with that. What's going on?
Let's take another example. Let's make this practical. For somebody, for example, that is in a job or maybe just starting out. And the question is, am I going to stay in where I'm at? Or am I really going to pursue my dreams? Am I really going to follow what my heart is telling me? But therefore, I don't know if I can do it. Or there's this little voice in my head that tells me, well, maybe you just got to play it safe. You just stay where you're at. Or go out there and really follow where you want to go. So there's this confidence missing, this little bit. What would you say to that person?
I think two things. Number one is, I forget who said this quote, and I may be misquoting, but it goes something along the lines of, hell on earth is meeting the person you could have become. And I think about that all the time. You have to you have to kind of track forward your life in 5 years at this role or at this job, or 5 years forward working on that passion project or that thing that you really want to do, because you need fuel to be able to sustain something, and that fuel is going to be the purpose behind why you want to do it. The second thing I'd say is, don't be surprised when you knock on the door of opportunity and work is the one who answers. A lot of people are surprised when they think that I'm just going to live my dream. I'm going to start a business. 90+ % of businesses fail within the first 5 years. And I think that number is actually updated in terms of the latest research. I think it's above 90%. Fail in the first 5. It's hard. This is something that a lot of people don't say. It's hard to live your dream. It's hard to do something you're passionate about. It's hard to make a living or build a business around a passion. It's difficult, but if you have enough commitment, you can find someone that's already done it. This would be the ultimate practical advice I would give. If you want to do something, if you want to pursue a passion that you have, find someone that's already done it. Ask them every question you possibly can. Model their success, model what they did, and do it yourself. That is success in a nutshell. If you want to start a venture-backed company, find someone that has started a venture-backed company and see exactly what they did. If you want to be a professional speaker, find a professional speaker and see exactly what they did. If you want to start a clothing company, find a founder that has started a clothing company and see exactly what they did, and then model success. That is like the ultimate thing you could possibly do.
Wow, I love it. And also, since you just brought up speaking, and it's another thing, of course, where you need a lot of confidence actually to be on stage, to speak in front of a lot of people. Because as we know, there are different statistics, but it's one of the number one fears out there in the world, the fear of public speaking. And so what for you, was it something that you naturally just were gifted, or that you naturally just enjoyed doing, or was it something that you built? How did you get into that?
I was horrible and terrified of speaking in front of groups. Like, genuinely, I don't say that like being over dramatic. I would start physically sweating in my hands, and I would literally start sweating in front of 20 people in drama class. 20 people. I was terrified. And that, a decade later, I was just at an event with like 25,000 people in a stadium. How did that progression happen? By understanding that weaknesses that you have, and 70% of people on earth have glossophobia, which is the fear of speaking in public. But see, I don't think anyone has the fear of public speaking, because if you're in a big room alone, you'd be able to talk. I think people are more afraid of being judged. They're afraid of how people are going to perceive them. They're afraid of messing up. They're afraid of losing respect, losing admiration, etc. It's a confidence problem. So the few realizations that you need to have is, number one, there's going to be people that don't like you no matter what. Within any group of the 500 plus keynotes that I've given over the past 8 or 9 years, I would say a good average is there's going to be under 10% of people that will not like you no matter what. They don't like your hair. They don't like the way that you sound. They think you're too much. They don't think you're enough. Nothing you say is going to change their mind. Then 10% of people are going to like you no matter what. These are your just optimistic, like I fall in that bucket. I will like people for no reason. And like, even if they don't give me a reason to, I just love people, and it's just fun to like people. Just give them some good vibes. They're up there. Awesome. Then the other 80%, I feel like it's up to us. So I think when it comes to public speaking, you got to realize if it's a weakness for you, it can develop into a strength by putting in the reps, getting in front of people more often. My first presentation was for 170-year-olds at 7 a.m. while they ate breakfast. And I was 19 years old. It was horrible. I had to stand in the middle of the restaurant. It was awful. It was literally terrible. So you've just, like, my advice, it's like, I want to get better at public speaking. Go speak. Go give 50 presentations. Get in front of people. Do it.
And actually, talking about that, also about the statistics that you said, those 10% or less than 10% that are not going to like you no matter what. You know what? It's not about you. Doesn't matter who you are. It's about them. It's something, it's a conversation that's going on in their mind or in their heads. There is, whatever it is, it has nothing, zero, to do with you. It could be anybody. And then all of the rest, think about it this way. Nobody is going to be sitting in the audience that's going to say, hey, I want the next speaker to suck. I want him to be really boring. I want to have a boring hour while he is here. I would really enjoy it now if he's really boring. Nobody wants you to fail. Nobody wants you to suck. They're not going to be there like, yeah, be boring or be bad. Everybody's going to cheer for you. Please be some kind of spirited enlightenment, or somebody that brings some humor, brings some lightness, to just at least make it worth the while. So they're going to be rooting for you. And
for sure,
tell us about your early struggles, because I mean, I'm sure there were some, especially when you say you were standing in front of 170-year-olds as a 19-year-old. So age probably is a factor. And it's not just the literal struggles. It's actually what's going on in your mind, because that's usually a thing, because it's like, oh, am I too old? Am I too young? And all those kind of things, all those limiting beliefs.
Yeah, it was all of that. And then I started my career speaking to high school students, which they won't like you if you're not great. They need they like with adult audiences, they don't really need a reason to like you, to give you their time and attention. Then they'll kind of pat you on the back and say like, "Oh, that was a good job. That was all right." With students, you need to give them a reason to like you. So I remember when I was 19, 20 years old, I would go into high schools. I would go in to do assemblies, and I was terrified, like literally mortified of giving these presentations. But then I realized it's a skill set I could build. It's like, oh, I can make them laugh there. Okay, that actually worked. Okay. And I think it's Miles Davis that says, it took me 10 years to play like myself. I think that's true. So true in speaking. The number one thing that a speaker could do on stage, which a lot of professional speakers right now to this day can't do, is be 100% authentically themselves on stage. It is so hard to do. And just to be real, it's so hard because everyone puts on a persona. They put on a mask. They put on who they think they need to be. And it's very hard to be just completely 100% authentic in who you are. But that's kind of that other level of presenter that is so few and far between.
Wow, and then it really becomes a masterpiece, and that always reminds me of the Michelangelo story with David, that statue that he built. When he was asked, "Wow, how did you build that? How was it possible?" And he said, "It was already there. I didn't build it. I just took away what was not necessary." So it's really about peeling the layers of the onion. It's about getting to the core of who you really are. And feeling who you are inside of you. So I love that. What is the Juan Bendana #1 secret to public speaking? Or is it already it?
I would say that would be it. That would be up there in terms of the number one thing is learn to be yourself, which sounds ridiculous, but it's true. And then I would say if there was a second secret, it would be learn to tell amazing stories. That's
so be a great storyteller.
Yes. Learn to tell great stories.
So how do you tell a great story? Or what makes a great story?
That's a great question. Okay. Another hour and a half. Telling a great story is really about inviting the audience into the story so that they can see it through the perspective of them, not through the perspective of you. Because a lot of speakers make the mistake where they think they're recounting the story from their perspective as opposed to helping the audience find themselves in the story. Meaning, someone could tell a story of a few years ago, I went on vacation and I went to Europe and I traveled all around. And it was very fun. And what I learned from that experience was that I have to roll with the punches. I have to learn to be adaptable. Okay, so that's a introductory like starter speaker that has never delivered a presentation. The different.
No, you forgot something because the starter speaker usually and yes. and then. But yeah, it's basically exactly
that. The different version of that is saying, I remember a few years ago, I had one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. I remember I was traveling through. So there's some suspense. There's some buy-in. There's some what are they going to say next? How many of you have ever been on a trip where you knew something was how many of you have ever had an experience? What am I doing? I'm putting something onto the audience. I'm having themselves find themselves in my perspective. How many of you have ever had the experience where you kind of knew something was off, but you didn't really know what it quite was yet? I remember I was on a train traveling from Italy to France. And I had that gut feeling, that pit in your stomach where you know something is about to go wrong, but you're just not sure what it was yet. So you're kind of bracing for impact. And that's when it happened. What are you going to say next? I'm wondering. I was just making that up. But like, that's the difference between someone just recounting events and someone really telling a story. It's a very big difference.
I love it. I love that. For somebody who says, hey, I got to learn that. I got to learn storytelling and I got to learn
Because I agree. If you're a great storyteller, you're going to be paid better. If you're a great public communicator, if you're a great public speaker, it's going to boost not just your confidence, it's also going to boost your pay grade.
Yes.
That doesn't matter if you're an employee or if you're self-employed or have your own business. So how do you learn effective storytelling? How do you learn great public speaking besides just speaking?
Watch every comedy special on Netflix you can.
Really?
That's how. Yes. They're the best storytellers. They set up premises better than anyone in the world. They're better than any speakers to be able to outline story. Like literally, watch a Netflix special and study it. Watch. It is just a series of exceptionally told stories. That's it.
Like Kevin Hart or Adam Sandler and so on, for example.
Kevin Hart, Trevor Noah, Hassan Minhaj, John, like any of the greats, Nate Bardzing. Like I've watched every single Netflix special on like that is currently available, probably 2 times over, every single one. Those are the best storytellers, in my opinion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. I love that. Very, very cool. All right. Let's shift over to some rapid fire questions here.
Let's do it.
What's one piece of advice that you would love to give to somebody who is just starting out on their journey?
Do hard things, earn credit with yourself, earn confidence in your ability to do those hard things. Push yourself just beyond what you find comfortable.
Who is somebody that you admire or look up to? And why?
My mom. My mom, because she is someone who seemingly never runs out of energy. And she came from Nicaragua with nothing to Canada to raise her family with a box of books and $100 and built a 7-figure business that has been in business for 20 years. And she's just the best.
And I know your mom, and she really is incredible. I agree. What's the best book that you've ever read and why?
Oh, damn. Oh gosh, I have 3.
Give them to us.
The best. Okay, so the best fiction is The Alchemist by far. It's about finding your personal legend, kind of your purpose in life. It is so good, you need to read it. The second is The Rise of Superman by Stephen Kotler. It's about building world-class skill and talent, and how to get into the flow state. And then the third is The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle, and that is about building world-class skill, building talent, and it is so good. Those 3 are incredible.
Wow, very nice. Very nice. What do you practice on a daily basis that moves you forward?
Fitness.
Fitness?
Yeah.
Okay, love it. What are you excited about right now?
I'm really excited that in a few days, I'm flying to Disney to go deliver a few keynotes. And then from there, going on to Hawaii to celebrate my 30th birthday with my fiance and my sister and 4 of our closest friends in the world.
Wow, very beautiful. And what's one thing that you cannot live without?
My fiance. Yeah, Gabby. She's the best thing. She's the best thing ever. I couldn't. That'd not be a fun life.
I'm very beautiful. Juan, it has been such a pleasant communication with you and conversation with you. If somebody got inspired and would love to find out more about you, where can they find you?
I think the best place to find me is either my website, which is Juan, Juan, Bendana, BENDANA.com, or where I hang out the most is LinkedIn and Instagram, and it is just Juan Bendana on both.
Okay, that's awesome. Any last 30-second, any last 30-second thought that you would like to leave us with?
I think when it comes to a new year, this is around the time where people start to fall off of the things that they wanted to do. And actually, the stat is 70% of people start to fall off in the first week of February. of those goals that they have. So I would say to re-energize, re-engage, get that fresh start energy at any time of the year. Whether you're listening to this in February or in October, it does not matter. You can re-engage, you can get re-inspired, re-energized with the goals that you have, and absolutely crush it this month, this year, this phase, or this season of your life. Every single day is a fresh start. And I know that sounds corny or cheesy to say, but the person that you are yesterday doesn't need to be the person that you are today, doesn't need to be the person you are tomorrow. So move towards the goals that you have and absolutely crush it.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for all your wisdom, all your insights. All the best. Give it up one more time. Juan Bendana. Woo!
Awesome, Ronny. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for sticking with us until the end. To make this content even more valuable for you, please leave a comment below and share your thoughts, and also share this video with somebody you care about who absolutely needs to see this. Thank you very much. Have an outstanding day and see you next time.